Unacademy's YouTube channel for IELTS. As always, I am back with another video that will help you prepare better for your IELTS test. Now, today's topic is, of course, it's a very interesting and a very important one. It is cue cards. So for today's lesson, what we are going to do is we are going to practice cue cards. So what I've done is I've split this into a 4-part series. So today there will be 2 lessons now, then there will be another one at 5:15, and then there will be 2 tomorrow from again at 4:30 and 5:15. And what we are going to do is across these 4 lessons, we will discuss 12 different cue cards. I'll try and cover 3. I'll definitely cover 3 in each of these lessons. How I'm going to do this is I will pick up a cue card, I will give my own answers, I will discuss the cue card, and then maybe I will suggest what are the other answers that could be given, and also probably discuss what is it that most students, most test takers would, what are the mistakes that most test takers would make on these cue cards. Hi Pachu, welcome to the class. How are you? So that is the whole objective of this particular lesson. Just before we get started though, I would like to let you know that I am an Unacademy Plus educator. What is an Unacademy Plus educator? I will very quickly explain everything about that. So Unacademy Plus is a platform which is available within the Unacademy app, right? So I'm sure you're already aware of what Unacademy is. Unacademy is an app that you can download for free on your Android or your iOS phone, and you can prepare for about 30 odd entrance exams from India and also for abroad. And you find a lot of free content to watch, plus there are a lot of free classes that you can attend for the test that you're appearing for, and prepare for your test to a certain extent. But these classes and this content is not structured. It has not been put together in a manner so as to take you from the beginning all the way to the end in the correct order with the correct information at the right time, right? I mean, of course, the information is all correct. That's been already put out there for you. Learn, but it's not structured in the best possible manner, which is where Unacademy Plus comes into the picture, right? So Unacademy Plus is the academy per se. So those free videos and those free classes are the books that you could refer to, but on their own those books probably will not help you score well on your IELTS test. But Unacademy Plus is where you get the tutor's guidance, because the tutor through a structured course will help you prepare for your test right from the beginning all the way through to the test itself. So I am one of those tutors. I am an Unacademy Plus tutor. So Unacademy Plus in itself is an academy within Unacademy, and there is a subscription fee that you need to pay to access this. We'll come to that shortly. Just before that, let me explain what do I teach on Unacademy Plus. So I have 2 courses that I teach on Unacademy Plus. One is my grammar course. Now this, in my opinion, is the most important course for you to prepare for your IELTS test, because IELTS at the end of the day is nothing but a test of your English, and the better you know your English, the higher will be. Hi Manu, welcome to the class. How are you? So the better you know your grammar, the better your language will be. The better your language, automatically the higher your band score will be. And then there is the IELTS course. Now this one of course is very important as well, but more than the IELTS test, I always recommend for students who are average or below at English, they should be focusing more on this course than on this one. So the grammar course is for 3 weeks, and the classes are from Monday to Friday, and they are 1 hour each. As for IELTS, again, this is a 3 weeks course. The classes are once again from Monday to Friday. So primarily I don't disturb you, I don't keep you busy over your weekends, and I ensure that you can, I would say, practice, but I'm pretty sure most of us spend our weekends chilling and partying. So you can continue to do so, all right? And this too is 1 hour each. Hey guys, now one thing before I go further, I want to remind all of you that IELTS is actually a very simple test. It's a very easy test as long as you know your English. If you don't know your English, you can keep trying a million and one strategies, but you will not score well on your test, all right? Okay, so how do you join Unacademy Plus? Like I said, it's a subscription based platform. So you have to pay a small fee and then you can start attending the classes. So for 1 month, you pay a fee of 2,700 rupees. And for 3 months, you pay a fee of 6,600 rupees. Now, if you're good at English, if you're above average or good at English, a month should be enough, and you can still attend. I mean, you should attend both the courses, and then you can go up here for your test. But if you're somebody who's average, below average, or weak at English, you should take the 3 month subscription so that you can do the grammar course at least twice, and then go on and prepare for the IELTS test. That being said, you can get a discount on this fee. For that, you need to use the code Manil Live, all right, and that will give you a 10% discount, and that will reduce your fee to 2,430 for 1 month and 6,000 rupees for 3 months. All right, so those are the options that are available for you to prepare for your IELTS test on Unacademy Plus. Now, coming to the topic at hand for the day, and that is cue cards. So let's understand the sorry. So let's understand what is the cue card. So your cue card, sorry, let me change the ink color. So you see, your cue card is always laid out in a certain format. You have the scene, scenario, whatever you want to call it, topic that you have to speak about, all right? And then you have 4 points on which you have to speak, all right? These are the 4 points that you should include while speaking on your cue card. That being said, it is not compulsory that you include all 4 points on the test while speaking. Even if you end up just covering 1 point or 2 points, that's okay. In fact, if you end up speaking on a point which is probably not even covered in these 4, but you end up using that point while speaking, you'd still do very well. All right. So that is how that is the one thing that is good and in favor of the student when it comes to the cue card. And I've seen a lot of students who go absolutely crazy just trying to figure out, that, they end up losing confidence that, I will not be able to cover all the points. And I've also, so for them, I think this clarifies that you don't have to worry about having to cover all the points. And then there's this other thing where I'm always, that I'm always hearing from the students, and that is, but what if I do not know what to say on the cue card? What if it is about something that I've never done? Look, in all honesty, if you don't know what to say on your cue card, it is not because you haven't done it. See, those cue cards are very general. They are designed in such a manner that irrespective of any person, there will be content to speak. You will have points to speak. It's a very general, a very generic question set that you have to answer. All right. We'll look at the cue cards. So the 12 cue cards that I've picked up for these 4 videos are all cue cards that have been reported on recent tests. All right. So there is literally no chance that you'll be in a scenario where you don't know what to say. I've heard instances where people say like, describe a place that describe a cafe that you've gone to, and they're like, I've never been to a cafe. Big deal. No problem. You've never been to a cafe. You've been to a restaurant. Have you been to any other place? You've not been to a cafe. Imagine one. Create one in your mind. Think of what would a cafe be like in your mind, right? In your thoughts, and describe that. You do not have to be factually correct. I keep saying this all the time. You don't have to be factually correct. Look, this is not a test of your general knowledge or your IQ. It is a test of your ability, or your ability to converse in English. So for that matter, if you end up giving an answer which is absolutely factually incorrect, but the language makes sense and all the points that you convey, they come together to form this logic that in terms of the language delivers, then your answer is right. Okay, so if let's say you're talking about tennis, all right, there's a cue card. Let's say there's a cue card about food, all right, and you end up saying that paneer makhani is a part of the Lebanese cuisine. No one cares. No one cares, even if it's not factually correct, or if somebody says that hummus is traditionally made in India. No one cares as long as you can somehow keep your language correct and deliver everything. You'll get your desired band score. All right. So what I'm trying to say is, one, you don't have to cover all the points on the cue card. Two, you don't have to worry about being factually correct. What you have to worry about is getting your English correct. All right, that is the thing that you really need to focus on. And for that, trust me, 95% of all test takers, IELTS test takers in India, are average or lower, which I mean average, below average, and weak at English, right? And what they end up doing is they end up taking multiple attempts at the IELTS test without really focusing on improving their language. So you end up spending lakh and a half of rupees taking the IELTS test over and over again without realizing that because your practice strategy, your learning strategy is all wrong, you will still not be able to score well. All right, so it's not about, oh, if I take the test 5 times I'll clear it. It's like I discussed it in one of my previous videos, that on the mock test, people, instead of improving their English, they will keep taking the mock test. All right, they'll give 30 mocks, 40 mocks, 50 mocks, thinking that if I keep appearing for the mock test, I will end up scoring the desired band score. That's really not how it works. All right, okay, so if your English is weak, like I said, join me on Unacademy Plus. Join my grammar course. 3 weeks, you're weak. Take 3 months. Do this course twice, if possible thrice, and then go appear for the test. And use the code Manil Life, which will give you a 10% discount, and then appear for the test. All right. So coming to an actual cue card practice. Now, so this is the cue card that we have in front of us. So describe an interesting talk or lecture you have heard or attended. You should say who was the speaker, when and where you heard or attended it, what it was about, and explain why you think it was interesting. Now what I'm going to do is I will pull up my stopwatch. All right, and one second, let me set up my stopwatch. And what I'll do is I'll deliver a 2 minutes, so I'm not going to use the minute to prepare for my answer. I'll just start speaking, right, looking at the cue card, and then we'll discuss the whole thing. All right. A lecture that I was a part of recently was on space science, which was conducted at Science Research Center very close to my home last month. This had been conducted by ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization, which is India's spearhead when it comes to space research, as well as sending all of our missions to Mars and to Moon, as well as further probes deeper into the space. The lecture had been conducted by the head of their wing development department, Dr. Gill, who was also a teacher of mine when I was at school. And the lecture was on the topic of how can solar cells be developed further to gain more range in terms of reaching further into deep space. So currently, the problem that scientists are facing is that Once the probe is beyond a certain range from the sun, there are very limited solar flares, there are very limited photons available to power the probe, and as a result, the machinery could collapse. Even though the probe could keep traveling, but the machinery would collapse, and communication with the Earth could completely be lost. So they were talking about how these solar cells can be improved so as to keep the machines running way deeper into deep space. I thought it was very interesting because if we can actually improve our cells for space, we could use that very same technology here on Earth to power more of our electric vehicles, our machinery at home, to use in factories and so on and so forth, and overall reduce our dependence on fossil fuels and reduce global warming. All right, there you heard the alarm back. So, of course, I could see the 2 minutes, so I sort of started ending my answer as soon as I saw the 2 minutes, right? But that was my answer for this particular cue card. One second, let me just bring up the chart so that I can see if anyone said anything. All right, nobody said anything. Wonderful. So that was my response to this cue card. Now let's discuss what did I do. It was simple. I went point by point. All right, I just went point by point. So this was describe an interesting talk or lecture you have heard or attended, right? So the first thing I did was I did my introduction. That was the first thing I did. And then I did not go in the same order. I did not go in the same order as has been given on the cue card. If you were paying attention to what I was saying, I first went to the second one. This wasn't because I knew that this was coming. In fact, like I said, because I hadn't prepared for a minute and I'd only read it once. I'd in fact forgotten what was it that I had to cover as part of the upcoming points, right? But I ended up speaking on this point first, which was fine, right? Absolutely okay to do so, all right? Absolutely okay to do so. So I spoke on this point, and then I came to the part which was who was the speaker. Now on this part, I did not really speak for very long, right? I sort of wanted to discuss this point a lot more, which is okay. It is not that you have to elaborate on every point, speak for like some people. What do they try to do is they like 30 seconds here, 30 seconds here, 30 seconds here, 30 seconds here. Not necessary, not necessary. That is also okay, which is also fine, but it's not necessary that you have to speak for 30 seconds on each of these. Another thing, I know I made a few mistakes in terms of grammar. I also made a few mistakes here and there in terms of mostly in grammar, a couple of mistakes here and there. I noticed those, but I did not correct those. So don't, because if you try to correct yourself, you lose marks for fluency, right? Fluency does not mean speaking at speed. I'm sure you noticed that I was speaking at a very decent, very slow pace, giving myself an opportunity, time, and you know, what should I say? Giving myself an opportunity and some time to ensure that the thoughts were flowing and I could structure those and deliver. But what will you do with the analysis of the response? Are you trying to? Will you try and memorize the answer that I've given? I mean, I've already analyzed the response in terms of how did I approach the cue card. I'm waiting for your answer. Eh? By the way, I'm waiting for your answer. Okay, cool. No problem. So, yeah, so that was my response for this particular cue card. Explain why you think it was interesting. I mean, I wanted to speak for a very, very, very long time on that part because I think, and by the way, guys, this was not as if I was looking, I mean, I haven't really read these cue cards even before the class started because all I did was I had somebody else set up these cue cards for me, right? I enjoy taking on the challenge of cue cards. I think cue cards are a very fun exercise to engage in, even if it's not for IELTS, right? This is something that I was always an extempore champion at school, uh, hands down winner for every competition that I participated in, spare one, right from my eighth standard all the way through to 12th standard, because there were never any extempore competitions before that at the school, right? So I first got to participate at an extempore when I was in the eighth, and from there all the way till 12th. Extempore is where you're given a topic, you're given a few seconds to think, and then you speak for a certain duration. At extempore, usually you get 30 seconds to think and a minute to speak, right? But with time, the group of friends that I had at school who would participate in extempore, we got so good that we actually started doing 5 minute extempores, right? That is how good we got at it. And probably which is why I do so well on the cue card. Okay, it's like for me the cue card is the easiest part of the whole test. Actually, all of speaking is the easiest for me on the whole test. If there is one section I really hate, it is reading because it needs patience, right? Um, Pacho, you know what? You are caught up with so much jingoism and so much lingo that you've forgotten that the whole test is all about speaking the right thing, right? Truly, you don't have to start thinking like, "Man, have I used this? Have I used that?" No, you don't. All you as a test taker have to do is just ensure that you can come up with a good response. Now, if that means using a linking device, what is a linking device? There are tons of linking devices and they each have their own purpose. Do you need one? Do you not need one? A lot of people actually think, oh, if I use a linking device, I'll score higher. No, no. You could end up using a sentence which has no linking device because there was no need. And yet, answer the question in a beautiful manner. And I mean, not a cue card, of course. Not a cue card, of course. But first, part one and part three, there could be answers where you don't need a linking device at all, especially part one. So chill, don't get too technical about this. Learn the language. Learn the language, guys. IELTS is not about. I know you'll be like, oh, please come on. I just want to score my IELTS score and go abroad. But trust me, IELTS. If you want to do well on the IELTS test, even because you want to go abroad, right? Fall in love with the language. I don't mean get emotional about and start reading Shakespeare. I mean enjoy the language. Understand what has to be said, and trust me, you'll do a lot better. Anyways, moving on to the next cue card. Sorry, just get a quick sip of coffee. All right, let me pull up the timer and we will come on to the next cue card, which I will read once and then I will. So again, I won't take the whole minute. I'll just read it once and then I will come to my answer. Describe a time when you complained about something. You should say what was the issue, whom you complained about it to, what the result was, and explain how you felt about it. All right. So the one complaint that I had lodged recently was with the local authorities and with the Ahmedabad police regarding the rampant driving in the opposite lane, in wrong side driving as we call it. And this is an issue which has been plaguing Ahmedabad, and not just Ahmedabad, most of Gujarat and almost all of India for the longest time. And it is an issue which has become so deep rooted that today people don't even recognize it as a mistake. And the number of accidents that have occurred thanks to this practice is innumerable, killing a lot of people on the streets. And even if it does not kill people, it just causes unnecessary harm, damage, and injury to people. And in general, people constantly stay irritated because consider this: you are driving calmly in the left lane of your road and you come to a bend or a turn, and just as you start turning you realize there's a guy who's coming in his auto rickshaw from the opposite side, full speed, gunning at the speed of light straight for you, and you have to take evasive action, and this guy just goes past abusing you, and there are cops standing nearby who will not be able to do anything because one, they are themselves undertrained, and two, even if they were to reach these guys they would probably take some money and let them off. So this was an issue that I really wanted to tackle, at least raise my voice against. So I reached out to the local police and I lodged a complaint for it. I reached out to the SP of crime branch, not of the traffic police, because the recent reviews of this person who's been heading traffic in Ahmedabad have been very bad. And thankfully, this gentleman who I reached out to took some strong action. The SP, the traffic cop who was heading the department, was shunted, and a new person was brought in. All right, there it is. Exactly 2 minutes. We got our timer in time, and this is what I was able to respond. This is how I was able to respond. And I think that was a very, very nice answer. I'm personally very happy with what I was able to say over there. Made a couple of mistakes here and there, which is fine. One, I repeated myself once, which is okay. That's not really too bad. I would believe that worst case scenario, I would score a band 8, no less. Always gunning for a band 9, of course. ठीक है नहीं होता, it doesn't happen, that's fine, hardly an issue, right? So alright guys, so that was again my response. Like I said, so I did not follow the order, right? Of course, started off by stating what was the complaint, what was the issue, and then I went deep into explaining how I felt about it, all right, about the issue. Didn't really explain the complaint as such, right? And then because I had already spoken for very long, finally when it came to these 2 points, I look again, I know I have the timer in front of me and I'm trying to restrict myself to 2 minutes. On the day of the test, I won't have a timer in front of me, you won't have a timer in front of you, so don't worry. Even if you end up going, you keep speaking, the examiner will let you know 2 minutes are up, you can bring your answer to an end. So I had promised that I will cover 3 in this video, right? Which is something that I haven't been able to do, right? I've been able to do only 2, but that's okay. We have 3 more lessons doing the exact same thing. So the next one starts at 5:15, which is about 15-16 minutes from now. And then there are 2 more tomorrow, right? So we still have another 10 cue cards to practice the same way. So don't worry, all 10 of those cue cards will be practiced. Before I bring this lesson to an end, I want to once again remind you of Unacademy Plus. Guys, you can keep listening to my answers, you can keep listening to 100 other answers, but trust me, there's no point memorizing because you don't know what will be your cue card. And if you do not know your English, trust me, it won't really get you anywhere. So improve your language. Join me for my grammar course on Unacademy Plus. There's a discount code for you mentioned on the screen, which is Manil Live. And join me for a month at least, right? Of course, makes sense. You can't join for less than a month. And then there are 3 months for those who are average, below average, or weak at English. All right. So guys, thanks for watching this lesson with me. I will see you in the next one. If you're watching this as a published video, make sure you're watching the next published video as well. And guys, keep practicing. Remember, keep practicing. And for IELTS, keep it simple and stick to the basics. Goodbye.